Hello, I'm Andrew Hara, the host of the Bomb Squad. I wanted to tell you about my movies. All are available on Tubi, which is a free streaming service. The last one is a zombie drama about how a pandemic and isolation could drive a group of people mad. When the virus hits, John finds himself alone and scared until he meets Michael, his protector. But when Karina, another survivor, enters the mix, everything that John and Michael knew will be turned on its head. The last one is a zombie virus movie that's somehow even more relevant today. Plus, it has zombies. Check it out. Borderland is a mexploitation film about living in El Paso. When Sarah finds herself in debt to the cartels, she has until sunrise to find some missing monies with the help of her executioner. Borderland is a true midnight movie and a lot of fun. Finally, the documentary Humble Spirits tells the story of the Hahn family, including champion Jennifer Hahn from El Paso, Texas. The entire Hahn family has grown up in the combat sports and has helped shape who they are both in and out of the ring. Humble Spirits, a family of fighters, is the perfect documentary for boxing fans of all ages. Check out Tubi to watch all my films. Finally, The Empty Space, winner of multiple awards, including the Sacramento Horror Film Festival's Best of the Fest, is a cosmic horror about Amy Andrews, who's dealing with anxiety and depression after a violent attack that killed her husband. As she tries to find herself, she starts to lose her grasp on reality. Or could it be something much more sinister? The Empty Space is full of twists and turns, with Grace DeWilder of Rue Morgue magazine calling it a powerful film full of excellent performances by practically every cast member. All of Andrew Hada's movies are available to rent or buy on streaming services such as Tubi, Amazon, and many other places. We hope that you help support us by watching these films. Now, let's start the Bomb Squad. What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the Bomb Squad, guys. Thank you for watching. On today's episode, oh yeah, I'm Andrew Hara. Watch my movies. Also, we have something else in the works that maybe William's gonna work on. You'll find out later. Which reminds me, William, I gotta send you something. But yes, welcome to the Bomb Squad, where we review movies that nobody liked. And today we do have a movie that seemingly nobody liked. It was uh it was so bad. It didn't kill any careers like last time, but
Yeah.
it did kill Universal's hopes and dreams for the one series that they always want but will never have, Universal
Yeah.
Monsters.
Right.
Also, it
It
didn't
was.
do that bad. But anyway, it was released
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day. I know that because I went to see it on Valentine's Day. It was a date, and it also crashed and burned. Directed by Joe Johnson. It's written by Andrew Kevin Walker.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. It stars Benicio del Toro, Anthony Hopkins, Emily Blunt, and they all came together to play in The Wolfman from 2010.
Long time
Um,
ago.
let's
Yeah.
see, who did South? Oh, yeah, I made Josh do Southland. William, why don't you tell us what The Wolfman is about?
It's about a guy whose brother dies mysteriously in a very disgusting way. He's been ripped to shreds. So he goes back to figure out what killed his brother, and it turns out very quickly that there is a wolf man running around. And while Benicio del Toro, the main character, is seeing the wolf man for the first time, he gets attacked and then turns into a wolf man himself
Mm-hmm.
while still trying to uncover the mystery of who the original Wolfman is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a gothic horror. It's like in the same vein as like Sleepy Hollow. Definitely huge Sleepy Hollow vibes.
Yes.
Visually, storytelling wise, yeah, just kind of a classic monster romp, I guess you could say, with a little bit of mystery.
Yeah. Also, I know there's a director's cut. I'm not sure which one I watched, but I feel like because I watched this in theaters, I
Hmm.
feel like it was a director's cut. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird in a way that I don't remember the first time.
Yeah,
But so what did you guys think of the Wolfman?
I feel like this movie has like everything that I want in a movie. Like
Right.
it's like the perfect
Yeah.
film that's like every time
Yeah.
I see the cover I'm like, "Oh, I got to watch that again to make sure that it's
Yeah.
actually not good." But it's fucking boring. Like
Yeah.
it's so boring.
it's more like, okay, I almost think it does a really, because yeah, it's like great actors, great sets,
Hmm.
great gothic vistas that they like loom out at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is like building up, and it's like this is kind of good at like building up to something, and then what it builds up to, you're like, oh no, this is kind
Yeah.
of nothing.
Right.
It doesn't really like ever hit,
Well,
you
see,
know.
to
Yeah.
me, here's the thing. To me, is that and there's a lot of things actually. This is a good movie to talk about.
Yeah.
But one of the things to me is that like they, you know how when you watch, like I love the Universal horror films, the originals from like the 20s. And when you watch them, you almost like ask yourself like, how are people scared of this? You know, like how are people scared of just Frankenstein walking to the door? And
Right.
it's like, well, back then, like the idea of like even something looking vaguely like a monster would was so frightening that it would freak you out.
Yeah. It was brand new.
And I, yeah, and I feel like they took that sensibility of like what scares them, and then they kind of applied it here, because everything, to me, the biggest problem is everything in this movie is like taken deadly serious, but it's like it shouldn't be. It should be like
Right.
Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton-y, like kind of like a little bit funny. Like we should be having a good time.
Yeah, I think that was like the biggest like disappointment with like
Yeah.
Benicio del Toro is that he's usually so kind of like he's got that kind of devil may care sort of like he's like always kind of laughing at stuff in most of his movies, and this one he just
Yeah,
plays like a sad guy, and like I don't give a fuck about him in this movie. He's just
yeah.
like he's just kind of walking around just like he has like no Benicio like charm that he usually has.
Like
Yeah, and
it's like delivered, like the director did that on purpose, right? Where he's like, no, everyone play it at like 100% serious.
Yeah, well they
Because
did.
Emily Blunt's like just barely in it, and she's just like, oh no, bye, Wolfman, you know.
Yeah,
and you
It's
know
like,
what? They don't tell Anthony Hopkins to do that because he's playing a completely different
well,
movie.
he does
oh
what he wants
yeah,
on every movie,
And
yeah,
and
it's
he's
also
he
like
is in a movie I like, yes.
I remember when this movie started, and I didn't hate this movie or anything, but I remember when this movie started, it's like, oh yeah, Benicio del Toro plays like a famous actor, and you think that that's gonna like come into play, but it
hmm
only comes into play like in lines of dialogue where they're like, oh, I know you're a famous actor, so are you faking or something? But it's like it never really, like, you don't know anything about Benicio del Toro's character.
right.
When you think about like Ichabod Crane in Sleepy Hollow, you know so much about that character, and so you
Yeah,
like want him to win.
he's like a
But
nerd, like a good-hearted
yeah,
nerd.
yeah.
Like
And
he doesn't
so
have to
in this,
act.
yeah, and like I think because okay, so the movie starts and then they kill his brother, and so he's come back to kind of like figure out what's happened, and they find out they're like immediately they're like, oh, it's a werewolf, and everyone's like, yeah, makes sense, okay, um, and so then there's like a group of there's like a group of like there's like the circuses in town, and they think they might know who did it or they might have done it themselves, and then the wolf attacks. Like that seems super cool because the wolf is like cut. Like the weird thing about this movie is how like serious and like darkly toned the real stuff is, and then how gruesome the murders are. Because
Yeah,
the way the murders are gruesome, it lends to like a level of like silliness, you
Kind of an
yeah,
know?
Evil Dead style, like,
right.
Yeah.
Like
oh, as you're
kind of like
like getting
over the
like pulled
top.
under.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
didn't want to watch a serious Evil Dead movie as much as they gaslight you in trying to watch that one.
right.
Um,
There's like 3 movies that could describe at this point too.
Because
Yeah,
there's a part where this guy is like hiding, and he's got like something, and then like the wolfman puts his claw
yeah,
through his mouth, and it's just coming out, and I was like, oh my god, this is so. And there's like a guy who's hiding, and the
yeah,
wolfman comes up behind him and like rips him out and cuts off his head, and I was like, yes, this is the movie I want to see.
yeah,
And the other hard thing is that, like, okay, so then that wolf, like Benicio del Toro's like fighting that wolf, and he's running after it for some reason, and then so like the wolf bites him, but again, like this movie's so gory that it literally looked like the wolf was like taking off his head. It's like
yeah,
such a huge.
Right. It's like massive. Yeah. All
yeah.
the violence is very extreme, which is good. It's just
Right.
more.
Yeah, that is fun. And then they
Mm.
do the same thing as Alex G. Every scene is like clearly filmed in the set.
Yeah.
It's a little better because it's almost weird because like there's a scene. I remember there's a scene where Benicio gets there and he's like in a tavern and he's in front of a fire, and then they show like people talking. He's just kind of listening into the conversation, and he's super coolly lit. Like half of him's like lit by the fire. He's in shadow, but then it cuts to them and they're just like lit normally, and it's like.
Mm-hmm.
They would always pick one shot to be super stylistic, and then everything was just like, nah, they're just there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
They're like, that's the storyboard, and now let's just get some coverage.
Yeah, let's go for it.
And so then they bite him, and like that's when Hugo Weaving comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, he's kind of the rational inspector who's like, surely men can't become wolves.
So like, what is his role in this movie?
I don't
like,
really.
it's kind of supposed to be. Yeah, like
Jesse
it's
Plemons from Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah,
yeah, just to kind of solve it but not help, essentially.
He's a hobbyist.
But like that's like an interesting idea because he even gets his own scene at the same tavern where he's like, "No, reason must prevail, madam," and it's like, okay, you're like trying to say something with this character. But he's not really in it. There's not enough of a real clash between them. It's very incidental,
And he like literally walks in and he's like, "Hey, Lawrence, I heard you got bit by the wolf, so you're a wolf man or something."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so what's going? Like, why does everyone know and nobody really cares that much?
But it's kind of like we know we don't really believe, but we kind of believe. Yeah.
They believe that he's a wolf man. But they also don't want to take him in. He has to self-surrender. Listen, if one of my friends became a wolfman, and I suspected it so much that I just believed that he was, he doesn't have to turn himself in. He's going in, but he's not going to have to turn himself in. He's going to get in there.
Yeah.
To be fair, they do try to arrest him on Anthony Hopkins' estate. And then Anthony Hopkins is like, I've got a Sikh man up there who can shoot 8 of you at once. Because he always talks about his Indian servant that I don't think you ever see until he's dead. I don't know.
He's at the beginning. He comes in like the very
he's just kind of like, hi.
Yeah.
Later. Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins plays the master of the estate, not the bad guy. So you know that he's definitely
right. Then he's always half in shadows. He's like, "I'm home, Lawrence," as he like fades out of the shadows. Yeah,
everything was like built up just like so weird. Like even the scene like that we were talking about with with the gypsies, they call them, whenever the Wolfman attacks everybody at the beginning, like people just like start like running up with like their hands bitten off and like their legs bitten off.
Right.
And it doesn't like really build up any of like the tension. Like crazy shit just like kind of comes out of nowhere, and then it's like cool for a second, but I never felt like
there's not like a ramp up. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, okay, you have the quiet, moody thing where they're like in the quiet moonlit forest. Oh, now it's Evil Dead. Okay, now it's in like the other. It's like there's no transition between the two. That's kind of the problem.
And it's like there's nothing to like bite onto, like there's like no ride, no escalator.
Yeah, and it's also like that's 100% because. It kind of does the same thing that Crimson Peak does, but Crimson Peak like is aware of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Where it's like everyone's kind of acting. All the scenes where the werewolf's not there, it makes it seem like it's like the 1930s version, And then every time they cut to the Wolfman, it's like a 2000 like Texas Chainsaw remake.
Right. Yeah. It's like totally stylistic. Yeah.
You can't kill like 40 circus performers and then like just come back and be like, I think it might be him. We should ask him to turn himself in.
Yeah.
That guy.
This is also kind of why the ending falls. There's a funny part because spoilers. People are like, "You're a wolf man. We see you woke up with covered in blood. We're gonna get you." So they like arrest him, and then it's like they essentially have him brought to a mental asylum.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, "We're gonna cure you by doing crazy 1800 shit to you. That's just torture." And then Anthony Hopkins just shows up to just say the plot. He's like, by the way, all this just so you know, here's my entire backstory. I'm a wolfman and I love it. I don't know why I'm coming to tell you. I guess I'm taunting you anyway later.
And he's also like,
If you get out,
okay,
come find me, I guess.
But like, they should have made Lawrence smart enough to figure that out for himself.
I
You
know,
know,
'cause we all
like-
fucking did.
I know. It's like, come on, man. He should have come to that realization and like go back to his father, not just be like, by the way, if you could break out of here, find me at the house for our showdown.
Yeah.
it's so funny because when Anthony Hopkins gets there, it's like every scene is like every scene from when Anthony Hopkins enters the movie. It's like everyone's talking normal, and then it comes to Anthony Hopkins. He's like, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
It's like, is that guy the werewolf? I don't know. He's
Yeah.
mysterious. It's the werewolf.
but
And
it
even when he tells him, he's like,
yeah,
like
no,
playing the
it's
harmonica
great.
as he goes, because like he can't. He's trying to be as creepy as humanly
I know.
possible.
When he's like holding his dead wife, he's just like, look at her. She's
He discovers the
Fuck.
tomb beneath the house. He's like, "Do you like my shrine to your mother?" And it's like a hell shrine.
yeah.
On
Here's
the
this
wall.
locked door for some jail style door.
Now, let me be clear. I love it. This is why I thought I liked the show Westworld. I was like, oh, it's Anthony Hopkins hamming it up. But no, I just like those parts of Westworld. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like the same thing here.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
I
definitely like the
do
most
like-
animated person in the movie, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I don't know. There's also like there's a scene where they're talking, Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro like talking on the docks, and she's like Lawrence, and then he turns around, and then she like has to walk to her spot, and then she like continues the sentence, and I was like, man, you guys couldn't block this better. Like,
Yeah.
why is this so awkward? Like, I understand that they're all proper, but it ends up coming off as like everyone's acting in a play.
Yeah. With
It's all, and then, but then again, there's like because they'll cut to like Benicio del Toro's having these visions, and it's just
Mhm.
cutting to like monsters and nightmare stuff, and it's like, what? It feels a lot like I don't think that these characters from 19th century. Like if they saw half this stuff, their brains would just explode in their heads.
I know. Yeah, they're so chill about this. Like backwards at like they talk about how backwards the villagers are all the time. They're just like, yeah, they don't
Yeah.
know about the world. They're fucking yokels. Like they're kind of scary, like probably evangelicals. But yeah, like they're all pretty chill about like also like whenever they don't know because they don't think that Benicio del Toro is a wolf man. They think that he's a crazy person. Like, do they think that he just like savagely kill these people like with his bare hands? Because he like rips off heads and like hands and slashes
say it
them.
They say it a couple of times. They're like, and he's mutilating them to look like it's been done by a beast.
Yeah,
It's like he killed 45 people.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
like in their minds, this regular man was running around like a carnival, just slicing off heads
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah,
There's a guy who runs and gets stuck in like a mud pit, and then he knocks off his head
Yeah,
while he's still stuck in the mud pit, and it's like, what exactly do you think happened in this situation?
yeah. He just
You're
like sawed it off. Like,
normal people.
It's-
Over
but
there.
But
There
again,
is-
those are the best, the coolest part.
The-
And it's yeah.
yeah, no, like the gore violence is cool. There is kind of a problem. I actually think the transformation they actually did a pretty good job with, like his hands are becoming paws.
Oh, I will
Yeah, the
say
fingers
yes.
turning all around and stuff. That was good.
Apparently, they didn't have enough time because they wanted to do it all practical, but they didn't have the time, so I just did CGI. And it
Mhm.
looks pretty good even now.
Yeah.
It didn't look bad. Like they do a good thing of mixing them.
There's two big exceptions to that though. He continuously sees a werewolf child
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
not great.
Oh, I
that is
know.
seems very unfinished, and it keeps coming up a lot.
And not scarily, but it's supposed to be.
It kind of looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, where
Yeah.
the CGI is not there yet.
It looks like
Like
Gollum if you went to Hogwarts.
Yeah, he's like middle school Gollum.
And then there is a big fight at the end that should not be in the movie. It
Oh
is
my
not
God.
it is not a good resolution to the film.
Fucking
Because again,
insane.
so like, there's a part when they take him to the mental institution. They're like waterboarding him, and then they just tie him up. and he just becomes the Wolfman in front of everyone, and then just like murders everyone in that building.
That's like a cool scene too, though. Like because
It's
they
like
even do the setup, like, "Oh, behold the full moon, Lawrence. Will show
Yeah.
that you the sickness is in your mind."
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like turning around to lecture as it's like this is such a good setup, you know.
Yeah.
And then it also like it has like Killstone Cop style comedy because then he like turns into Wolfman. He's trying to get the professor.
Yeah.
And there's a janitor. And
He's like, "Unlock the door." He's like, "It's locked."
locked. You fucking
It's
asshole.
locked,
Pay me a
Professor.
fair wage.
He's just doing like shtick where he disappears from the window and comes back with a silly mustache.
Like,
It's just-
and then the Wolfman like jumps and he's like running on. He's not in a car. He's flying on rooftops.
Just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in LXG.
Yeah. Oh,
There were so many
yeah.
crossover moments in these two movies. It was unreal.
I know, right? And then he's like howling at the moon, and it's
Yeah.
so cool. But then it's like the rest of the movie is just not this.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, it gets into no. The rest of the movie is definitely not this. You should not have done this at all.
Yeah, the two
It's-
wolves fighting was
yeah.
like it
Is-
made me feel like I was like trying to get my dog to go on a walk. Like it was just like I don't
It was
know.
also
It was like not
they-
dangerous.
They do make him look enough like Anthony Hopkins and Benicio del Toro. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's two giant furry things just running at each other.
Just
It's kinda
kind, yeah. It's because it's
Yeah.
like you see a normal man running from or shooting at a werewolf. There's a cool like dynamism. Two werewolves, you're just like this is just I don't know. There's a weird
Yeah.
redundancy to it.
The only way you could tell was that since Anthony Hopkins is so enamored by the idea of being a wild beast, he does take his shirt off. And since
Oh.
Benicio is still trying to be a man, he keeps his shirt on.
his shirt on.
that's
The symbolism,
Also,
you
it's-
guys.
that's
it's-
called themes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
funny because like you like okay, so in this movie, and it's also even more hilarious. So Anthony Hopkins is a dad. He he got bitten by a werewolf, and then just coincidentally, his son also got bitten by a werewolf.
Well, his son got bit by him.
Yeah.
You
Well, that's what
know.
I'm saying. Like you could have just
Oh.
already like had him.
Like the genes, right? Yeah, it's.
Especially because the whole movie's like, it's like kind of about like.
I assume he did it
Generational
intentionally
trauma.
though. Like he can control it a little, so he was like, "I'm gonna go bite my son, so we'll wolf out together."
He can't control it because he murdered his son the week before
The first
because
one.
he
Yeah.
got too blood hungry. Is what he said.
But you get the sense that like once he kind of did that, he was all in on being the like.
no, you don't.
evil.
You can't get the sense of something changing. You get the sense that everything that happened in the movie was actually the opposite. And he was having a big-
No,
good
because
joke about it.
whenever he goes, like, because he's not like remorseful at all, and that he in fact even goes to like be mean to Lawrence at the hospital to be like,
Yeah.
by the way, I did it, bitch. Sorry.
Your
And
mom
it's like,
tasted fucking good, mother.
yeah, he's super like, oh, I actually love this now. By the
But
way,
the movie like doesn't treat the fact that his dad like did the ultimate betrayal and like murdered his mom and his whole entire family and doomed them to this curse. It's
Yeah.
hard to really convey the emotions that would be involved in that when it's two Chewbaccas fighting at
I
each
know.
other.
well, yeah, they honestly they should have done something. Not only is it like distasteful to whatever theme they're trying to do,
Yeah.
they're literally a shot of him decapitating Anthony Hopkins, and as his head is rolling, it's transforming from a wolf back into
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins' normal man head, and you're like, oh man, that's not good.
Right.
No, that
Don't.
part was cool.
How does a fucking fire kill the werewolf? Like that's not a rule. Is that a rule?
Well, see, I don't know,
'Cause
but
there's-
I do know
Just torch
that-
all of them.
it's so funny because like I thought that there was gonna be more to it, but the Anthony Hopkins jumps at the Benicio del Toro werewolf. He does a Baraka kick.
Yeah.
The fireplace, and then he catches on fire, and then he comes out of the fire, and he's like, "Blow!"
It's so
Cut off
fucking
his
easy.
head.
It's the easiest
Yeah.
kill.
You know,
It's
I
like-
mean,
Where there was no silver. I thought it was
It's-
gonna be like a holding him off until the crowd got there. and then Emily Blunt could like run into the burning house.
It's probably hard to set a wolf on fire in general if you're not another wolf doing Street Fighter moves on him.
Well,
So
and there's the other thing where
Yeah.
like, so at the beginning they're like the only thing that can cure the curse is true love, and at no point do they try it. Do they like?
Yeah,
They don't ever do anything with it. There's no reason
yeah,
to bring it
it's
up.
like they were saying the theme of the movie, but as a literal fact that is not like expounded upon. I don't know.
yeah, because
It's
the lady that tells her, she says, "You can set him free, or you cannot set him free. There is no cure. You know what you must do." What the fuck does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's
think
like
it
the
was
most
like-
vague directions.
it's like, oh, you have to kill him, which she does. I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, so it's kind of like, hey, here's what the end of the movie is going to
But
be.
it's also
Foreshadowing.
like she's such a non-character
right.
because she's
Y-
like
yeah.
not the love interest. She's like the brother's wife who he kind of has a thing for, but
Yeah.
he knows it's inappropriate. So it's like
Not
what's
true
she
love.
doing here?
It's a
Everyone
Hunter
loves
and Bo Biden's wife
It's-
situation.
it's
They only get
literally-
together after.
Yeah, it's literally just so that there can be a girl that the werewolf chases after. I think.
Yeah, so you
But,
can
like,
have
she
someone in a
could've
dress
been-
running into the forest.
But why couldn't she? Why didn't they just write her to be something that was the love interest? You know,
Exactly.
Like,
I don't know.
Make her
It's
the
it's all
lead.
half measures. It's like she's half the love interest, but it doesn't quite get there. And
Yeah.
Like maybe she could have been the maid, and then the brother like left her like a lot of the estate, and so that's why Anthony
Yeah.
Hopkins is the Wolfman again because he's like, I'm gonna kill everyone.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's just Knives Out with Wolfman.
Yeah.
yeah, that's still a good idea.
It's
I don't
still
know.
would've been cool. It's
It's
still would have given her purpose.
it's
was-
just I don't know. You just think about like her and Hugo Weaving. It's like, oh, this should be good, but he's not really. He's just kind of been there in the background,
Yeah.
being like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll catch up to you, Lawrence, at some point eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the main
Yeah.
movie killer. Like having you like do this podcast, like that's like half baked shit is like so common in like these kind of like bombed like studio movies.
And I think like especially with horror, it's so easy to like make it humorless. And I think like to me that's one of the things where I think like I made sure you add humor in our stuff because like you see all the best ones. Like I think if you take out the humor, it like makes it seem less human, and it's easier for the audience to ignore the horror.
Yeah, because there's nothing to like be scared of. It's like if they all
Yeah.
died in a fire, I wouldn't give a shit at all. Like,
Right.
who cares?
If I
Yeah,
care about
yeah.
these
There's something
characters-
sedate about all the performances, which again seems
Yeah.
intentional, but not. Which is because like the scene where like he's like, oh, I'm gonna tear through this asylum. It should be really good, but the movie's not really like humorous enough for that to really
Yeah.
hit as much as
I
it should. Like
I
that
didn't
should be
hate
the
the
biggest
doctor
part of the
enough.
movie.
Yeah.
Every time
Yeah.
the werewolf is around, it's like Three Stooges level of murders. Like
Yeah.
it's literally
Yeah.
like it's like Scooby Doo, like boom, 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 and then their head gets cut off. You know,
Yeah.
or like they look out and they're like, it's clear, and then they come back and have their faces missing. Like it's
Yeah.
all like that.
Right, like whenever like that, like when they like back to the doctor scene, like exactly, like if like when they try to like make the doctor seem like so evil, and he is like he's like torturing him and stuff, but like if they would have gone like ham on that, and then it's like
Yeah.
he's the one that's gonna like and like zoom in on him when he's like his back is turned to the Wolfman, like really ramp it
yeah.
up, and then like have him fucking rip the guy in, like all he does is toss him out the window. He doesn't even get that good of a death, but he's like
yeah.
you know they don't like they didn't take all these like cool leaps, like these like satisfying like moments that could have happened.
Doctor should have been played by like Jeff Goldblum or something, like someone
Yeah.
like could have really like taken the
Some
juice
real,
Yeah.
kind of character to build it up. Yeah.
It's just
Some
like
fucking
some
asshole.
British guy.
Yeah, he like looks the part, but he was like just whatever.
I need him to be like indubitably, so that we want him to get murdered. 'cause he's
Yeah.
too British.
It's also
Exactly.
it is funny because he's like when he picks him up, he's like, "Welcome back, Lawrence." I was like, "Oh yeah, he was in this. Like he left this place to go home." But I was like, "But also he was an actor. Like his backstory is really complicated and not relevant to anything that
Right.
happens."
His backstory
Exactly.
is like he saw that his dad was a werewolf, maybe, or something happened, and then he was sent to an asylum for a year. Then he got out, and then they just let him go back to being like a rich kid, and so he became a famous actor. And
Yeah.
then again, none of that matters. Like
It's
nobody ever
just,
recognizes him.
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like it's like, but why was he traumatized and then just well enough to become a very specific thing that his personality is not? I don't know. That's
Yeah, and it's like you could have done
like
some
the
like
two
there could
don't
have been like a
mesh.
Yeah.
poster of his play, and then they cover it with like a wanted poster, like something.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
Yeah,
someone
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
recognized them,
Totally.
something like that, But
The
it's
most
so
wanted
like,
man in London.
yeah,
Yeah. Some shit like that.
I don't
Yeah, no,
know.
and you could have a lot of fun with like the famous actor thing, like
Yeah.
Mm.
just
Like I didn't necessarily dislike that he was an actor. It's just they don't do anything with
Right. He's
it.
not he doesn't charm his way into a situation. He doesn't have to
Yeah,
like fake somebody out of like getting an item. He doesn't have to like act his way into a bar or something. He's like a charmless actor. Like an actor is supposed to be charming.
yeah,
right. I was just to say he's the opposite of
Captivating.
what you need as an actor to
Yeah.
succeed, especially in those times when you had to be very bombastic to succeed on the
Right.
stage.
Exactly. And I
So
did watch the unrated version, and so that was like the director's cut. And there
there's
is
just
this
his
scene at the
dick in every frame.
no, pretty much his
you're
lifeless
like,
dick.
you're
But
like, why?
but it shows him doing like a Shakespeare scene at the very beginning of the movie, and like Emily Blunt comes to
okay,
find him. But even like
Mm.
his acting, like it sounds like he's using like an American accent doing a Shakespeare play, and he just acts the same way before he even finds out that his brother is dead. He's just like this kind of mopey guy on stage, like, and there were lines that I said, and then he's like sitting in a chair drinking some wine, and he's just sad for minute one, even like in the deleted scenes, and it's just so weird. It's just like, what were they thinking?
it's like that thing. I mean, we're never going to talk about the Mummy. Maybe we will. Probably not. But it's the same thing where they like uh they want to like I don't know why the Mummy, this one, even well the Invisible Man they finally figured it out, but like the Dracula Rising, that one,
Oh, I never
they
saw
all
that.
want, but they're all like super serious, like these not fun things,
Yeah,
and so it's kind of like, but why? Why is that the tone they're always going for?
right. Like Batman was pretty good at being serious, taking like something
Yeah.
that's like kind of wild because he's like a pretty dark guy.
Mhm.
But like even I don't know, I feel like even like in the Nolan trilogy, like there's still like some fun moments for sure.
Yeah, like it's that thing where it's like you can go for like a gritty, realistic tone, but at a certain point, like you're dealing with the Joker, like he's a clown, like he
Yeah,
does crimes. Yeah, and it's
exactly.
funny, like people talk about, oh, Josh, unmute yourself. Um,
Howdy.
it's funny, like to think about Christopher Nolan and Tim Burton are the only ones who know like the Joker has to be funny. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't work if he's not funny.
right.
And so like that's the whole point of it. It's the same thing with Pennywise. Like it has to be funny. And
Yeah,
so like again, there is a point where if you wanted to make a super serious Wolfman movie, I don't know why you would want to do that.
yeah,
But you can also have the heads getting lopped off and thrown 20 feet. in the-
right. It's got to be like an indie, like fucked up movie where the Wolfman looks just like totally fucking awful. Like he looks
yeah,
like a cartoon character in this movie. Like he looks like a cartoon
right.
Wolfman. Like he's not
Well, and
scary at all.
it's like the thing where it's like I was reading some of the notes about this, and like one of the things is that whatever Lawrence was wearing, it didn't matter. They would always put him in the same Wolfman costume to emulate like how it was in the original 1931 one.
Yeah,
But it's like again, that's not the movie you guys are making. You can't do like this super kooky like trivia thing
hmm
when you're also like every part of your movie is deadly serious.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, what were you gonna say?
No, it's just like, yeah, it's like this weird mesh of like fighting ideas, like competing like ideas kind of overlapping where you're just like, that's,
Right.
I don't know, it's very off kilter.
Yeah.
It
So
really is.
And it's that thing where I hope that it's. I mean, I always want like these gothic horror, and we've reviewed. I mean, we did Brotherhood of the Wolf, and we clearly kind of talked about Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Like those kind of movies are always fun to me. Like
Yeah.
they have potential because it's such a unique time.
Yeah, and it's like so like just so made for cinema. Like I know it was like, it's
Yeah,
from not now. It wasn't made for the screen, but it's it's just so such imagination, and like it's like this magical world brought into like this kind of like tragic like rich person story from like Victorian times. Like it's perfect. It's so much fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's so disappointing about this
Yeah.
movie is that I always want to. Every time I see the poster, I always like. I'm just like, fuck yeah, that movie is actually great. I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong. It's not good. It's
It's
boring.
just
They
yeah, it's
fucked it
just
up.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's kind of
rough.
like it's the same thing a little bit with Alex G, where it's like I don't know who you wanted this to be for, you know, because like
Yeah.
it's the same thing where like it's that book where I was reading where they kind of like they try to shame you at the end, uh,
What book was
like
it?
in horror films. Oh, I read this book and it was like it's called the Final Girl Support Group.
Oh, that Grady Hendrix book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And at the end, they're kind of like, oh, if you like this kind of stories, like this violence against women, that means you're okay with violence against women. It's like, who are you talking to right now?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
people who
that's
don't
kind of
like
a weird,
horror,
like, kind of a scoldy
yeah,
way to, yeah.
like
Right.
people who
Right.
don't like horror aren't going to read this book, and so they're not going to get that message. And
Yeah.
then people who like horror read this book because they like horror, so they're like, why are you attacking me now in the thing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I've never
so
read
I
that one.
think
I've.
you what?
Oh, I was like, I've never read that book.
Oh,
I've
you
read
read
it.
his other ones?
I've read my best friend's Exorcism,
Oh yeah.
which was pretty good. It kind of like had like some feminism kind of stuff going on too, but I thought it was pretty
Mhm.
good. But I've but he's like always on like the horror subreddits. Like people talk
Yeah.
about his books all the time, and like a lot of them are kind of like hit or miss. Like people either love it or they hate it. So it's kind
Yeah, I
of
was reading
it's
some of the
funny.
things, and they're all saying like he's a good writer, but
Yeah,
this one just didn't work.
yeah,
But and also books are cool. I've never really read a book that I regretted reading. You know,
yeah,
that's the difference between books and movies. Like I'll read a book, and even if it's not that good, I'm like, I'm still pretty glad I read it.
yeah. It's like it builds up for so long that like the payoff is always like still pretty wild, even if it's not that good of a
Yeah,
payoff.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the attempt there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Wolfman right here.
I don't
I
typically
know.
regret even watching bad movies though, because usually I'm like, there's something like to this, that's
Yeah,
like kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely.
that's true.
Yeah, even this one, it's like I didn't hate this movie really. I'm just more disappointed that it wasn't like what I want
Yeah,
it to be.
if you're looking for gothic screen grabs to like make your wallpaper on your computer, this movie has like 50 really good ones. So
So
there
Yeah,
you go.
so many cool mopey town
Just
shots.
it's also
yeah,
like
or
yeah,
like the sun going down over the church or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it had
yeah.
done everything that it wanted to do, it would have been such a cool movie. Like, how many other movies are gonna be like, oh, we're gonna have the wolf like howl at the moon in London? Like, that's such a cool
right.
idea, but
Yeah.
it's like that's all it is.
It's
Hmm.
it's just it's just no Werewolves of London or
It's
an American Werewolf
American.
in
Yeah.
London or the song Werewolves of London.
Yeah.
It's neither of those, I
I saw
guess.
Lon Chaney walking with the Queen.
It's not Long Night, the
Yeah.
upcoming werewolf film by Andrew Hara.
Is that a film you're making? I don't know.
Finishes the script or gets the idea really.
It's like I've never even heard of this.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
But
yeah. Long night for sure. Uh huh.
yeah, that
I
one.
love that shit.
But thank you guys for joining us back on the Bomb Squad. I think this was a good episode. Next week we're gonna start a new themed month with some fun movies that I don't think not too many people have reviewed. So we'll see you guys next week on the Bomb